Hello everyone, I'm James Vanengen. I'm here in Washington Park, Springfield, Illinois. The time and date is approximately 11:20 a.m. Central Daylight Time, Thursday, August 8th, 2024. And the purpose of this recording at this time is to go over a letter that I received from the Social Security Administration as my claim continues. And just reveal to you as briefly as I can. It's a lot of information to go over at this time, so bear with me. This is all going to be a good learning experience for all of us due to some of the sensitive information contained in these documents. I will be reading them off to you as best as I can, of course omitting certain sensitive information about such as like file numbers, etc. I'm sure you can all understand. So here's the letter. I got it a few days ago. Okay, its postage stamp is August 1st, 2024. All right, now give me just a moment to prepare. Let me set up the camera here so I can read this to us. Thank you for your patience. All right. Here, try it a little bit lower. Gotta improvise. I'm outdoors. It's pretty nice where I'm at. Nice weather today. Kind of hot, a little bit muggy. But the area I'm sitting in the park is rather quiet, except for the ambiance of wild animals and an occasional roar of the engine in the distance. I will try to use my outside voice for us, okay? As well as perhaps my micro machine man voice. If you want to act silly and speed up this video 1.5 times just to get a laugh, I don't blame you. Alright. After carefully reviewing the facts of your case and made the enclosed decision, please read this notice and my decision. This is after seeing an administrative law judge in a court of law. Okay? If you disagree with my decision, you may file an appeal with the appeals council, so I can still file an appeal after having visited with a judge. Okay, and then it goes on to explain how to file the appeal and what forms to use. You can find those online, searching for them on the SSA.gov website using your ID.me account or your login.gov account. One moment while I continue to remain organized. Again, thank you for your patience. Wow. Let's count up the pages here, right? Let's count up some of these pages just real quick. We're looking at about 17 pages after omitting the introductory cover page. So, on March 8th, 2022, the claimant filed an application for supplemental security income alleging disability beginning May 11th, 2017. The claim was denied initially on October 18th, 2022, which was a few years later. As we can see, that took a few years to gather things together properly. The pandemic was upon us, and the Social Security Administration offices nationwide were closed for 2 consecutive years. My case was thrown out at the last minute, and I had to reapply as soon as allowed, and the shelter-in-place orders were lifted where I live. Okay? And then taken upon for reconsideration May 18th, 2023. Thereafter, the claimant filed a written request for hearing received on July 7th, 2023. The claimant appeared and testified at a hearing held on April 11th, 2024 in Springfield, Illinois. Although informed of the claimant's right to representation, they chose to appear and testify without the assistance of an attorney or other representative. There was a vocational expert who also appeared at the hearing. issues. The issue is whether the claimant is disabled under Section 1614A, capital A, of the Social Security Act. Disability is defined as the inability to engage in any substantial, gainful activity by reason of any medically determinable physical or mental impairment or combination of impairments that can be expected to result in death or that has lasted or can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. After careful consideration of all the evidence, the undersigned concludes the claimant has not been under a disability within the meaning of the Social Security Act since March 8, 2022, the date the application was filed. And this is where I appeal and disagree. I have letters from doctors, therapists, and nurses, signed witness letters, turned into the Social Security Administration they're conveniently overlooking, stating that I cannot work and have not been able to work since 2017. Okay, I also included 13 submissions of evidence, and most of the evidence that I submitted was medical records. And this has been a problem in the past due to our legal design and technological state, as well as overall population size in the United States. We've got a lot of adjustments to make in order to, get things done more efficiently and accurately. Okay. So, there is a 5-step sequential evaluation process for determining whether an individual is disabled. The steps are followed in order. At step 1, the undersigned must determine whether the claimant is engaging in substantial gainful activity. Substantial gainful activity is defined as work activity that is both substantial and gainful. Substantial work activity is work activity that involves doing significant physical or mental activities. Gainful work activity is work that is usually done for pay or profit, whether or not a profit is realized. Generally, if an individual has earnings from employment or self-employment above a specific level set out in the regulations, it is presumed that he has demonstrated the ability to engage in substantial gainful activity. If an individual engages in SGA, he is not disabled regardless of how severe the physical or mental impairments are and regardless of his age, education, and work experience. If the individual is not engaging in SGA, the analysis proceeds to the next step. At step 2, the undersigned must determine whether the claimant has medically determinable impairment that is severe or a combination of impairments that is severe. An impairment or combination of impairments is severe within the meaning of the regulations if it significantly limits an individual's ability to perform basic work activities. An impairment or combination of impairments is not severe when medical and other evidence establish only a slight abnormality or a combination of slight abnormalities that would have no rulings. If the claimant does not have a severe medically determinable impairment or combination of impairments, he is not disabled. If the claimant has a severe impairment or combination of impairments, the analysis proceeds to the 3rd step. At step 3, the undersigned must determine whether the claimant's impairment or combination of impairments is of a severity to meet or medically equal the criteria of an impairment listed in legal codes, legalese here, a list of legalese. If the claimant's impairment or combination of impairments of a severity to meet or medically equal the criteria of a listing and meets the duration requirement, I repeat, the claimant is disabled. If it does not, the analysis proceeds to the next step. Before considering step 4 of the sequential evaluation process, the undersigned must first determine the claimant's residual functional capacity. An individual's residual functional capacity is his ability to do physical and mental work activities on a sustained basis despite limitations from his impairments. In making this finding, the undersigned must consider all of the claimant's impairments, including impairments that are not severe. Next, the undersigned must determine at step 4 whether the claimant has the residual functional capacity to perform the requirements of his past relevant work. The term past relevant work means work performed, either as the claimant actually performed it, or as it is generally performed in the national economy within the last 5 years or 5 years prior to the date that disability must be established. Now let's pause here for a moment. I want to reflect on some things that I know after that statement. Okay, we have in many states a 10-year medical records retention law, many states a 7-year. We have one outlier state, Hawaii, I think it is, that has a 2-year medical record retention law. But now within the code of this ramification within the SSA's regulations themselves. One moment. Pretty cool, huh? That only 5 years is good. So if I'm presenting medical records that are older than 5 years at all to the SSA, even if they're permanent disability diagnoses, repeatedly re-diagnosed due to the medical records being destroyed after a set and specific period of time, according to law, then why do we even have medical record laws? Like, really? What else do we use our medical records for but to gain Social Security benefits? Like, in a court of law, catching criminals. What else are we going to do with medical records? Anyways, this one says 5 years. Okay? In addition, the work must have lasted long enough for the claimant to learn to do the job and have been SGA, and additionally, the work will not be considered past relevant work if the claimant started and stopped it in fewer than 30 calendar days. If the claimant has the residual functional capacity to do his past relevant work, the claimant is not disabled. If the claimant is unable to do any past relevant work or does not have any past relevant work, the analysis proceeds to the 5th step. At the last step of the sequential evaluation process, the undersigned must determine whether the claimant is able to do any other work considering the residual functional capacity, age, education, and work experience. If the claimant is able to do other work, he is not disabled. If the claimant is not able to do other work and meets the duration requirement, he is disabled. Although the claimant generally continues to have the burden of proving disability, at this step, a limited burden of going forward with the evidence shifts to the Social Security Administration. In order to support a finding that an individual is not disabled at this step, the Social Security Administration is responsible for providing evidence that demonstrates that other work exists in significant numbers in the national economy that the claimant can do, given the residual functional capacity, age, education, and work experience, and more legal codes. Okay? After careful consideration of the entire record, the undersigned makes the following findings. The claimant has not engaged in substantial gainful activity since March 8, 2022, the application date. The claimant has the following severe impairments: history of fracture of the lower extremity, neuropathy, post-traumatic stress disorder, depressive disorder, and anxiety disorder. The above medically determinable impairments significantly limit the ability to perform basic work activities, as required by SSR 85-28. The claimant alleges dysgraphia and hypermetabolism upon application, that there is no indication that either of these are severe impairments imposing more than minimal limitations upon the claimant's ability to perform basic work activities. Not true. Somehow we had a misunderstanding and miscommunication at this point in the courtroom, because I surely tried to, stress that dysgraphia and, things like hypoglycemia can be pretty severe with me. And I think we missed that part or something, but, another reason to appeal. Keep trying, right? There is limited medically acceptable evidence, including signs, symptoms, and lab findings, and the undersigned finds that these impairments constitute no more than slight abnormalities and have had no more than a minimal effect on the claimant's ability to perform basic work activities for a continuous period of 12 months. Both alleged impairments have been reported by the claimant, but there is no medical evidence of specific evaluation or treatment for such impairments. This right here is where I also must pause to inform you. I had medical records improperly transmitted in time before I had to go see the judge, and it was a pretty important hospital. Do this claim, I have to get all of my medical records in the last, at least 5 years, right? I went as far back as 10 years, with updated contact information to all of my doctors, nurses, and therapists in the last decade. Okay, that's what we get to work with. So I got to get all of those approved by the administrative law judge, and it just didn't go through. That could be because of technical errors, it could be because of clerical errors, it could be because of errors at the reception desk. The fax machine fried that day, for all I know. Right? And there's a number of reasons why those records wouldn't transmit. I can't just go around pointing fingers easily. I know I did my part. I turned in all of my instructed materials on time and accurate. So when I submitted all of my requests for medical records from all my hospitals, I did so all in one day. In one day, I submitted all my medical records requests. So I should have had that done on time. It didn't. Go figure. So, anyways. And then it goes on to explain more and more. Like I said, there's 17 pages here. Just trying to give you a gist of things. All right, using myself as an example of real world, real life, genuine and true example of stuff. Okay, and there are reasons they went on to say they denied me. Some reasons, that's the main one. The main hospital's records didn't transmit in time. There's stuff like this, okay? Like, there's a list of all of the times I appealed. Okay, these are a list, 3 pages long. Took years and years. This has taken me decades. So I hope we all have something to learn from going on into the future. At this point, in all honesty, I think this is ends of the video. I said I'm trying to keep this brief because I know that we all value our time and bodily physical energy investments. I'd like to wrap this up by asking you to please consider subscribing to my channel and following along with my experiences with the SSA. And we'll continue another time. I'll let you know after I file this appeal. Bye now.